probably the second or maybe third best AoE2 player. And, well, we will actually take a look at them. Score is obviously 0-0. And we will take a look at Arabia. Liereyy in the blue, Leenock in the red.
There we go. Like we said, Age of Empires 2 versus StarCraft. Both of them looking to become Age of Empires 4 Pinnacle Pros, though. And opens here in a best of 3. Round 2, off-meta civs means we will get treated to more Rus, but also the Chinese now on Dry Arabia. Kind of excited to see what Leenock can do with this civ as well, because I don't remember the last time I saw Chinese get picked competitively on this map.
Yeah, not really your Arabia civilization, right? Typically not the fastest start with them. Also, a balance change here, so we will see a bit of a different build order. Typically, the Imperial official costing 150 food. Now that's changed into 100 food, 50 gold, and therefore you need to go on to gold a bit earlier. Also a prettier sign there with the dynasties. And, well, let's see how well Leenock adjusts to that. Typically known to be arguably the best Chinese player we have.
He came across on this civ. I remember casting him in the early days of Age of Empires 4. He was a Chinese enthusiast from day one, more or less. And something that a lot of players remarked about him is he was phenomenal at dragging late game situations, specifically with this civ. Interesting to see if he's going to attempt something similar, because in this specific matchup, Lierey's power timing could be in the 15-20 minute mark, especially considering the additional nerfs to the Chinese, where not only is the cost of Imperial officials changed, but the supervise got slightly nerfed. It used to be that if you supervised a production building, it would effectively be 3 production buildings worth production. Now it's 2.5. So that stops the power creep, and it means if you have to transition, you're a little bit slower to get the counter out in the field.
Yeah, so true. And also a patch earlier, we already had the change that we can't make the clockwork tower work so much faster.
Yeah.
So, yeah, lots of changes. Chinese certainly plays very differently over the last 2 patches than it used to be. And Liereyy, look at that, only 85 bounty, but gets a lot of sheep. Now goes to tier 1. And a disappointing hunting cabin with like 26, 27 gold or something still on there.
I mean, we're just spoiled after that King of the Hill one, but yeah. 25 is usually acceptable. It's not too bad. That means it pays for itself naturally in 4 minutes. And because you built right at the start of the game, you'll definitely find your bang for buck. But, oh, hello, Leenock. This is not a ball play, right?
This is a ball play.
It is. And I've only seen this out of B with the Chinese on Dry Arabia so far. So I'm excited to see what Leenock's going to do.
Is that
It's
with
the Barbican.
Imperial Academy there?
No,
Is
no.
he building a Barbican there?
It's the Barbican. The Barbican drop.
Ooh.
This is another... this is a B build. They're all B builds. I've watched him do this on the pub ladders 3 weeks ago, I think. And
Really?
yeah, and it looked pretty bad.
Also, big question, how much is Leenock respecting Liereyy? Because Liereyy, obviously in AoE4 world, still a pretty small name. Got a direct invite because he's such a big name in the Age of Empires universe, but still needs to prove himself quite a bit. I think on the ladder he is roughly ranked 150 or 200.
That's very respectable, right? Like, considering he hasn't been grinding from the get-go, that's reasonable. We're seeing the grinding. I think, yeah, I pulled it up because I like to be specific. 231. Sorry to give you a lineup, but I think that's because you probably looked at it a few days ago, right? I think a lot of people sunk a bunch of elo with this new patch because obviously some people get the experimentation right and some the little experiment blows up in their face. But it's still, it's a talented player. Like, Lierey's considered one of the all-time greats in Age of Empires 2. And, you know, I feel like if you're that great in an RTS, there's transferable skills there, right? You need to learn the game, but once you do, all that knowledge you've built up as a pro player in this genre will come back to assist you later on.
Although Liereyy, known to be the player that is not that knowledgeable about the game, funnily enough. He was more mechanical guy, execution, micro, macro, and lacked some really basic understanding in some things, and I know it's harsh to say, but more off meta we went, the more he struggled.
Well, he's getting on meta quick as the ball play. Oh, no, come on, pull it across. Lierey's not pulling. Ooh, so this is unfortunate. Something that some players are really behind on, that I've noticed like the top tier Roost spammers doing, is they'll pull the board to the tree line. That way you make sure the hunting cabin generates gold, as well as getting the board expansion. And it's not, you don't lose efficiency either. Like, you lose 1 or 2 seconds of extra idle, it's totally worth it.
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah,
did
yeah.
did
Oh,
Leenock just run an Imperial official all the way out to the door?
Oh, we'll bring 80 gold home
Oh
as
my
well.
god. What, you want him to bring 80 gold all the way? Like that is like begging to be robbed by highwaymen right there. If you have to run 80 gold all the way back here.
But do you really want to rob a tax official?
Hell yeah.
Someone
Robin
that's
Hood, baby.
collecting taxes? Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
I like how you've just kind of taken a modern approach that taxmen are not bad people. Nah. I've still just got Disney's Robin Hood in mind, all right? Sheriff of Nottingham is what that is.
Aw. Yeah, he was evil.
He was. The evil taxman must die. But luckily for Leenock, Liereyy doesn't really have anything to kill him with just yet. It's just the scouts. And, well, scouts, they have had their attack speed increased, but their damage decreased. So unlikely that 2 scouts should be able to kill off a Imperial official before he runs back home.
Yeah, I would be surprised by that as well. Scout, only doing a scouting job here. And actually, not a lot of stuff is happening when it comes to military. Could this be just a normal castle age play while Leenock gets Song?
Possibly. I think that they can't pressure. There's no easy pressure points right now. Like, the generations have left them fairly condensed. You can see that Leenock, he has now gone up the Song Dynasty, so he's juicing out those villages 35% quicker, meaning he has 1.4 TCs now compared to Liereyy's 1. And you can't attack his expansion. Like, neither player can attack the expansion, because yes, we've got the barbecue in the south, which is perfect for board, by the way, in this situation. But in the north, we've got a wooden fortress, which is really beefy and has enough room to protect all the villagers stationed up there.
Also some changes that Leenock pointed out. Dynasty-wise, now we can build the granary once we are in feudal age, so that's basically increasing your farming efficiency, plus the village. So basically the bigger house, directly accessible, you don't need to advance pagoda a bit earlier as well, and therefore, yeah, lots of new houses, lots of different build-ups, lots of different ways to play the Chinese now.
Yeah, so the changes with the Chinese, like a lot of people are like, they're enough, they're done, it's over. Dog tier, never playing them again. A little bit of an overreaction.
Dog tier?
What
is dog tier?
Dog tier? Like the worst of the worst, right? Like,
But don't you like dogs?
No, because if you turn dog around, it's a god, so it makes sense that, like, while we love dogs, like, on a scale, the highest tier would be god, right? Like, that's the most powerful. So the reason they've seen as dog tier is because you mentioned the Imperial official change, right? Like, the cost of gold now, in conjunction with the change on supervised, was meant to deny these quick double feudal ages or rushes in castle. That finite change to timings was meant to address Chinese's aggression in the feudal age. So I'm kind of curious to see what Leenock can do now that we're not acknowledging the feudal age, right? As you highlighted, we're kind of targeting castle. And when you get in the later stage in the game, the Rus's power has been diminished, right? There's some tweaks around the dominance in artillery, while the Chinese still have some potency there with their gunpowder units, as well as the fact that the clock tower will generate more efficient siege weapons with 50% more health.
You still feel like, I think Rus should be slightly better. I'm actually not sure with a half range advantage how much that's going to matter, but obviously Leenock potential with the bombards that can do something. Now some knights out, even goes double stable. That's a bit surprising to me. Not sure if double stable will find that much, but certainly Liereyy should get into a nice lead when it comes to relics.
Yeah, and we don't have to worry about those implied odds we talked about in the previous series, right? Players here aren't playing blind. You see they're actually scouting out what each are doing. So that means we should see some interesting transitions, knee-jerk reacting instantly to what the other player does. And so far, Liereyy has been the one to blink first, right? He drops additional military production buildings. Meanwhile, Leenock, although he's teching up, he hasn't committed anywhere yet. And although Supervised has been nerfed, it is still able to turn one military building into 2.5 with the Imperial official watching it.
And he goes for 4 Imperial official before the 10-minute mark. That's really early. While we see now Spearman tagged, so he wants to counter those knights. Did see the stable. Also got some eco upgrades for himself there in the wheelbarrow for both players. And I don't think knights should find too much. I think Liereyy should honestly even consider adding a second town center here.
Yeah, it's definitely a play, right? We haven't seen it so far today, but the Rus, they have access to it due to the Golden Gate, allowing them to just trade 200 gold for 300 stone. And it's a hidden play. And that's so powerful because if you're at the highest level play and scouting vision is always on you, you can just snake that one. There's no warning that you're doing it. And it would allow him to gap close in a situation where Leenock now has the inherent villager advantage due to that quicker generation via the Song Dynasty.
Well, let's see about that and how they try to maneuver this one. I believe, by the way, that the KD is still 0-0, right? I think the only thing that died this game were the 2 boars.
It's a travesty. I mean, Pet is going to be on our ass after this one, but yeah, it's just pretty much just the balls that are going down. I kind of feel bad for them, really. Like, you know, once upon a time, you're like, oh, no, I saw what he's done to my favorite streamer, Liereyy. That was mean. But now I'm like, they killed too many people. They've killed too many people. They need to die. And then my final stage I've arrived at is, can we please stop murdering Boar? Every game, they're instantly dead. Oh, and Liereyy is now idle. I don't think he thought he was going to gather through the board that quickly.
Or maybe he turned vegetarian. No, he turned
He's contemplating what he's done here. He's like, the Boar are extinct now. Yeah. All right, let's go to wood. Screw it. There's plenty of that left on the map. Right in. Ooh. Little yoinksy doodle. Takes out one. I think the second villager. These knights are bulky, so they do not care about the TC at all. And that reveals the greed. Leenock just got spotted. Oh, and he's raided in again. Leereyy's so on point with this. The heavy cavalry. He forced the knee-jerk reaction into the racks and also into the stable. But he then also caught Leenock reaching in the cookie jar for a second time by going for this temple. And it means that he is just slapping down that eco lead that was barely even building for Lee.
Oh, AoE2 player, let's go here. That's really nice for Liereyy. Is already getting 1 relic. What? Getting a second one on the way, but dropped the relic somewhere apparently. And that's really nice for him. Forces a lot of idle time. And now the tech switch into the barracks there? I'm a bit surprised. Is he trying to go for Spearman himself? For the defense?
Yeah, because he saw the stable, right? So his assumption is like he's maybe going to need them just to the healthy composition. Also, he's kind of chill playing into like a native state because both of them have gone for relics, but Liereyy had the advantage of going for it first with his warrior monks that move out quicker and return almost the same speed as the monks. So overall, it's just a net win. Liereyy should get at least 3 of the 5 relics on the map, and that means Leenock's going to be a net negative for this investment into the temples compared to his opponent.
Lots of dots there at the very top. That's probably the knights still getting chased, and that's going to be the most interesting area. The 2 relics there at the top, and I think Liereyy should know about those. That would be interesting, and yeah, simply the movement speed for the warrior monks is so much better, but Spearman maybe taking better engagement here. Liereyy a bit careless.
He's not even looking right now. He's got his phone open right now, just typing out on Twitter, beat Leenock 2-0 lol. Oh wait, no, what's going on here? Needs to react
he's
a little
14 years old. He's on TikTok.
Damn, that's where the growth is now, I'm afraid. You know what? There's actually growth of a different kind for Liereyy. He's losing villagers here, so that's growing the amount of compost in this map. But, but less poopy is the play into the second TC that Liereyy did go for. So he's going to scale up. He's going to replace these losses at the back of his base.
I love how much you value human life. Humans are basically compost.
Hey, it's like the cycle of life, you know? Like, death brings life in a weird way. You just have to not bury the people and grow
Thank
plants.
you, Mufasa.
I'm not an expert in gardening. I'm probably wrong about all this. The only thing I know how to plant is seeds of doubts in my teammates.
Okay, Liereyy. Still 3 relics. 1 controlled now by Leenock from the top. And oh, that was another good raid. Liereyy down to only 2 villagers there at the boar. And it feels like maybe running away from there could have been an option to just have all villagers a bit more compact together.
And what I'm seeing there is Spears clearly need buff. They should be able to stab people with both ends. As you see. It just looks so underwhelming. You wouldn't think Spears are counters when they're masked by knights like that. But it's fair. Like, some people, I've seen them talk about how they think, you know, maybe Spears should do even more damage cavalry. I don't think we need to go down that path. All right? Build an equal number of Spears and it's a good solution. That's why Leenock's doing that right now with the Supervise. He just wants to pad and layer himself. I don't think he knows about the second TC. So Leenock's now playing on those implied odds we talked about again, right? Where in these hand matchups, he knows Liereyy might consider Imperial, but what he should be able to do himself is eco boom up with a secondary TC, which now gives him almost 3 town centers due to the Song Dynasty. So Leenock, although he's playing blind, he's playing optimal from that perspective.
And Leenock's still heavily on stone. wants to find a way with dealing with all those raids that are going to come in from Liereyy. At least that's what Leenock is expecting. Probably wants to get a defensive keep up. And that means probably more map control for Liereyy. Now finally goes for some of those sacred sites, but only one under control. I think he could have gone for 3 a bit earlier.
I think he's paranoid though, right? Because there's Lancers in the field. So it kind of makes sense. Take your time, move out slowly, because you understand you're kind of neck and neck in this situation. You feel like you're ahead, but you have to remember that the Chinese, with those supervisions, are able to build up an army much quicker than you, especially after bolstering their economy with the Imperial officials. And as for the moment, Spears getting good trades. Another Knight goes down. And just kind of awkward small losses occasionally from Liereyy. He still has mid-map control, but you can see what's now coming in from Leenock. Big Lee wrapping around from the north. And that's going to force the garrison. Quick reaction out of Liereyy, but a lot of idle economy. These Lancers are in some
low
way
HP
getting
knights. That could be some kills. Oh, actually attacks the high HP ones.
Gets one of them.
One knight down.
Scout goes down as well, so now Leenock's playing blind. And oh, that's the move for Liereyy. He's trying to poke a prod in, but needs to be careful. He has spears and knights, so no solution right now to spears of Leenock. And Leenock, gathering on that stone, will get the defenses bolstered here. But something has to change. Like, with these two compositions, I see no way that either player can breach just now. I say that. If Leenock hasn't got it his wood line, that might be the way. Uh-oh. Big mistake made. Straight in. Nest of bees coming out. Not good enough from Big Lee. Does deter his opponent away as the spears react.
Yeah, still a reasonable reaction. Lost one villager. Absolutely fine here. Showed that he's defending with the Nest of Bees. Spearman now going back. And I don't think Liereyy will find too much more damage. But Leenock, he's only investing into defending here. He wants to play the real long game. I don't see him attacking for quite some time.
Yeah, but Leary's going to force him to. Those sacred sites you're worried about are being addressed. He wants it all, and he wants it now. Oh, these raids in again. Once again, delaying the economy of Liereyy a little bit, but like he's still healthy. He's still comparative to Leenock's own. And the difference maker here is if we looked at Leenock's base, I don't think he's transitioned to farms at all, right? Like we haven't seen any. And that means he's still got that fragile state ahead of him. Remember, any transition you make is a weak point in your game. And we usually talk about it for military forces like, oh, I need to switch to spears. Oh, I need to switch to cavalry because of what he's doing. We never really talk about it with the farm side. So he is halfway there. He did go into the granary. And I'm interested to see if this is worthwhile. I've seen some debates about whether it's more efficient to go granary versus mills, because I think it's to do with a free farm differential that means you barely get any additional food from the heftier investment of granaries. I might be wrong, though. That might be old, outdated pop information. I just remember seeing big debates about it about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, I will not go into that discussion before I see a Spirit of the Law video about it. And I know, for example, that the Muslim does not believe in granaries, and he builds mills exclusively. Status 24 hours ago.
Oh, Spears. Wrapping in. One's going to get stabbed down, trying to make his way to the gold line. Oh, he's blocked in! Needs to retreat quickly, just in time reacts. And he comes in from the south side, but not fast enough. This is just a game of cat and mouse. Right now, Leenock, he keeps fading, pretending to be that mouse, but the moment you get nearby, you see that it's actually a rat-a-tat, and it's bigger than a little Kit Kat.
Yeah, it honestly feels like it, right? The mouse is getting bigger and stronger, and at some point, like, scary as well.
Yeah, this is a rat that's been in a science lab being experimented on, right? Like he's slowly but surely turning into this giant mass. And Liereyy, I think he might need to transition soon. Like the Knight's raids are getting less effective as the minutes go on.
Might it be a rat that is aiming for world domination?
It might be, but is it the brain or the other one? We'll have to find out.
And what is it going to do tomorrow?
I think the same thing it does every night, Nili. Try to build keeps. I think that's what the Chinese do every night, right?
Exactly.
Well, both players do it now. Lierey's going for a forward keep. Wait, I think that's Lierey's. The design kind of looks like it might be Chinese. There's no way.
But Liereyy had a lot of stone, so it's a forward one for sure. And, well, technically want to have some traps with that one then. But I don't really see that siege. It just feels like Leenock is pulling further and further ahead in villages. It should still be 2 villages against 2 towns against 2. I'm really surprised how Leenock got to such a big lead.
Yeah, but he's in a big lead, but he's in a big lead economically, but not informationally, right? Like if we check his vision, you'll see what I'm talking about. He doesn't see anything anymore. He's blinded. His raids are like very condensed. He hasn't really been pushing Lancers anymore. He's just kind of going ignorant. He's turning into an ostrich here, sticking his head in the sand. And it means the only thing he knows is happening is this keep is going up. He'll see these raids coming in, but Liereyy so far has hidden his siege transition. And it means if he builds this up to a sizable quantity with 2 or 3 trebs, 1 or 2 mangonels, and then reveals it, Leenock won't necessarily have the composition to deal with it.
Okay, now shows for the first time right now, basically exclusively Spearman for Nest of Bees. So Liereyy is now going in for a big raid.
Oh, he's cutting through him. Sees plenty of them on these open farms. Remember, the granary stack, so you want multiples of them down, which means you spread even wider. And the smile on Lierey's face will get wider as a result of that. Nest of Bees now reacting. Doesn't do too much to deter him from striking in again. Big hits coming in. Liereyy, although his eco count doesn't seem to be moving anymore, Leenock is moving negatively. And that's what's important.
Yeah, and Liereyy will be fine with that. I think we want to see some more traps. Liereyy has 1 on the field. Now goes for some aggression against the blacksmith there. And food eco can't be great for Leenock. Still shows 600 per minute, but that will drop.
Yeah, it's just all the idle time again, right? The Sprinkles are here now. They ambush him. Nice move by Leenock. Liereyy, he thought he had the stronger hunt maneuver. Gets caught off guard. Leenock with just 2 Sprinkles finding his bang for buck. Although he's now going to be traded out. Nest of Bees baits him in. And that's the danger. 4 Nest of Bees can shred his front line, and Liereyy has to back off.
Oh, and Springles not really getting the shots in. Remember, Chinese Springles needs 3 shots to die of another Springles, while Roos only 2. So big advantage in that regard for Leenock. And Chinese are so good at defending. If this keeps like in this efficiency, I think Leenock won't plummet too quickly.
No, and we also have to consider that Leenock has car insurance, right? His villages are nearby, so they can repair. Liereyy doesn't have the same luxury in these fights because he's the aggressor. Now, the limitation for Leenock is he is going to have to move out soon because of wood. But he still has that northern line for the time being, right? Like you see, he's gone for the more greedy southern line, but in reserve, he has a northern wood line he hasn't even touched yet.
Yeah, and wood is actually more scarce than gold here. As you can see, he still has 2 gold spots in the back. That's the wood line that he might need to go for in the long run. So Leenock actually in a reasonable setup. They're really floating quite some resources. Would love to see that one put on the map. Look at the amount of upgrades now being queued up. Leenock just queued up 4 upgrades in the blacksmith.
He's like, I've been lagging behind a bit. Let's try and fix this. I mean, in fairness, you said there's gold. It doesn't matter for him. Look at his number right now. He's got over 2k surplus because he learned what I did when I looked at my end of year reports. Taxes take the mick. All right, they're a little bit over the top. And he's been exploiting that to the maximum to ensure that he doesn't deplete these gold lines too quick.
How many tax officials would stop by at your home trying to collect?
Probably a lot less if I had knights to back me up like Liereyy does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like, is it cheaper to pay the taxman or hire a mercenary? I'm not sure. We're not going to get in this discussion, though. This will be used as evidence at a later point. For the time being, we'll focus on the exchange. Oh, the Nest of Bees hits coming in. Liereyy, he needs to respect this. It's not a firework display. They sting.
Oh god, and that's all the Spearmen gone for Liereyy. Down to 2 only now. Some healing is being done, but Liereyy is just dropping so heavily when it comes to military.
Well, he's being pushed back further. You know, these knights don't take as much damage from the Nest of Bees, but over time it adds up when all you're doing is walking left, right, like you're on parade, like you're dancing the Leenock's tunes. And he's vibing right now. Nest of Bees moving in, forcing further back, depleting the villager force, repairing the keep. Keep now going to be exposed. Sacred Site is being decapped, and Liereyy does not have the answer. He needs more siege on the front, but he can't wheel them out quick enough. Charging for the spears. Deters him away.
Boris looks to the front. What happened there?
I don't know anymore. It feels like Lierey's just panicking against this. The Nest of Bees are just ripping him apart, and he still doesn't have a solid solution.
Oh man, Leenock's playing this one so beautifully, so calm as well. Now full control. Now he takes the sacred sites as well, neutralizes the one in the center. Keep is going to fall, and it just feels like a 40 villager lead should carry Leenock to the W.
Yeah, I mean, Liereyy might have a magnificent number there, but it's nowhere near as close as Leenock's 104 to the 69. You know, having 1 extra relic doesn't really make up for that deficit. Having the additional wood gathering doesn't make up for that deficit either. Maybe a damn good raid could, but you're going to need a lot out of this one, son. Liereyy now moving in. You'll see a few straggler villages, but you can see how quickly Leenock is to react. The Spearman already moving across into position here will deny most of the gains and force him away as the Nest of Bees once again become a nightmare for Liereyy.
That's Warrior Monks going down. One villager only fell, so Leenock with another bulletproof defense here. Such a nice move. All Warrior Monks now down, and it just feels like Lierey's running out of options. Massive amount of archery ranges, but only 9 horse archers on the field.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's caught in a transition. We talked about this. The transitions are a delicate state. They're really scary. A lot of players are uncomfortable doing them because it leaves you weak. He's trying to switch into a counter, but what is he countering with this? It doesn't counter Nesta Bees. That's his biggest problem right now. He needs more siege because these horse archers are very squishy. They move fast, yes, but so do the giant fireworks raining from the sky.
Yeah, especially against 3 nests of bees, it will be tricky to defend. I'm not even sure if he has the HP upgrade on those, and it just feels like he's running out of options. I also would have liked to see probably more Sprinkles to address the army of Leenock,
Yeah.
but how many Sprinkles do you need against 6 clock tower Sprinkles already from the Chinese?
If I was to give you the rough maths on that, I'd just say, actually, the Roost, at this point, unless you're Imperial, why not just go for Cavalry instead? I mean, this is the thing, right? He's going for Knights, but the Knights already counted, so... Oh, no. Leenock.
Speaking of cavalry.
Mercy, mercy, please. I think we're about to get towards the dark phase of the game. As in, all the lights are about to go out for Liereyy, because we know what this means, folks. When you see that get plopped down and those stables be constructed, we haven't seen it for a while, especially considering it's bugged. But now, with their torch damage being fixed, this unit is going to scale phenomenally. Leenock with a transition into Fire Lancers.
Oh, we need to get to another dynasty, though, right? Right now, we are only Song.
I think he'll go for it quick, though. Like, look at his numbers. He's almost got the food required. He's really close. So he's preemptively setting himself up for it, right? Like, in theory, he could push Lancers, but, like, do you want to push Lancers against Knights? It's not advantageous. And you can see, yeah, they're just all idle. So I think we are going to be treated to the mad lads with the big torches here.
Okay. Bombard on the field as well. Goes for some more upgrades there. And Leenock, he knows, okay, this is Chinese. This is Chinese and Imp as well. This is looking really good. Once I get all my upgrades in, goes for Elite Men-at-Arms there as well, or Palace Guards. And I think Liereyy, how does he get to a proper army? I think he needs like 20 to 30 Streltsy to deal with what Leenock would throw at him.
I mean, Streltsy feels scary as well, right? Because of the attack behavior, they don't optimally strike at a force of Fire Lancers riding at you. And they're stacked, usually. So if you get caught standing on top of each other, we do have to remember that although Fire Lancers are very good at making buildings turn into giant lanterns, they're also very good at making front lines disappear because they do splash AoE damage.
Yeah, that's so true. Maybe Streltsy could be an option against what Leenock has now, but nothing against the transition. Yeah. And Leenock is just in a perfect spot here.
Well, Lierey's racing up.
Maps nicely.
And here it is. They're both racing up. So Imperial Palace going up. This is also phenomenal vision, by the way. We'll come back to it in a second, but like I just want to maintain that when that goes up, you'll want to see how wide the radius is that it sees, which means that Liereyy won't be able to flank anymore. He's getting outposts up, but realistically, you don't even need them. I'm baffled by how much vision the Imperial Palace gives.
Oh, and this is like, look at the resources as well. They will completely disappear the moment he gets the landmark. Oh, Liereyy only now going for the upgrades for faster production and more HP on his cavalry.
Yeah, he needed this much sooner. And there it is. Check out that vision. Look at that. That is not a palace. That's a lighthouse. It sees everything. A shout out to, I think it was GUA, actually, who was the first player to do that.
Leenock is just throwing away his...
Yeah, he's just making room in the Chinese army.
I think he knows that this is getting streamed, and I think he will go for like 80 Fire Lancers.
See, there was dissent in the Spearman battalions, so they had to be gotten rid of silently, wink wink. And now that'll make room for the more trustworthy Fire Lancers, as we've been highlighting, now that we are up into the Yuan Dynasty. And remember, those Fire Lancers are a hefty burden for Liereyy to deal with, because now that they are up in the Yuan Dynasty, they zoom. They are as fast as horsemen, and they do a hell of a lot more damage.
Especially against buildings. Now 12 in the queue, 18 in the queue.
Oh, God,
okay,
Lord.
He goes wild.
I mean, are they even going to make it to the final party? Like, the base is just being deleted right now. He got baited to the backside. Liereyy reacted to the spears too much, and now he's losing a lot of infrastructure, and he's running out of wood. He can't afford to take these casualties.
But it's only one bombard, right? So buildings are not going down too crazy quickly.
I don't think you respect the bees. All right, that's like, they do
apparently
like,
not.
what, 80 to 100 damage per volley? It's pretty strong.
Okay.
So like, I kind of, it's kind of like when you've got 3 Nesta Bees, it's like having 1.5 bombards in total with your 1 bombard, right? So like,
Oh, okay.
I'm just nickel and diming right now, but it is adding up. I mean,
1.5. Okay.
like the
I'll take
upgrades
it.
are coming out for Liereyy, but I'm still a little bit concerned because the horse archers haven't been revealed yet, and he's now a full transition behind. You can see the numbers, already 12 in the field for Leenock, and Liereyy still hasn't reached critical mass with his cavalry.
15 more in the queue. Actually queues up some more men-at-arms as well. Palace Guard. A bit surprised by that. So I don't think he wants to go full meme. I think he actually feels like this is the best transition.
I like it like this though, right? Because you have this to counter out any clump. Like he started to pivot away from Nesta Bees because they're a bit slow. These Lancers have a similar effect where if they see a lot of stack units, they can burn them. But also, if they see a flank, they can just raid. And they're very dominant in that role, which is why they're now starting to move out. They're going to burn down these, and watch how fast these fall, folks. Like, this is kind of ridiculous, the torch damage. If you click on them, you see, I think it's 40 per strike. Yes, you heard me correctly. 40 torch damage per torch. What?
Yep. Wooden Fortress has 2k HP, so absolutely crazy. And, well, more sieges moving forward, more keeps as well. Sacred Site is getting neutralized, and you can see how quickly it dies.
Leenock has sensed the irony in this moment, as Liereyy was trying to close the game with Sacred Sites. That option now opens to Leenock, but Leenock will not stop there. As he starts to shrink Lierey's base, Liereyy is going for the whole Ryder Rohan moment. However, I'm not sure if I call Leenock an orc in this situation. I'm not sure if this one's going to pay dividends, but he's going to try for it. Little does he know, he doesn't even need to go for the wall. He could just go north right now. Although Leenock would spot it, and he is going to build the defensive keep. Rushes across. Remember, the Chinese build these up faster, so it might be quick enough before the breach comes out. And Liereyy, this is dire tides right now. I don't even think this is a big enough force without the keep to breach the base and do any decisive damage to Leenock.
Mainly raiding force. It is not something for Landmark Sniper, and Nest of Bees are here.
And he's ready. Open fire. Gets rid of the Knights first of all. Quickly with the Palace Guard neighborhood chase down. Remember, Yuan Dynasty turns these units into 2-legged cavalry. Boys be zooming. 1.5 movement speed on an infantry unit. Able to gap close and slaughter the horse archers.
And gap close is indeed what's happening there. As you can see, horse archers with quite some HP for themselves, but big raid in the back as well.
The only good news is there was no splash damage right there. Those villagers would have insta-disappeared. They would have been on the side of a milk carton. But they're still going to die because Liereyy isn't reacting. He's too busy microing the main fight. And he's still losing that fight, really. Because his goal here was to get in and do eco damage. Instead, he militarily trades, and it leaves him at a deficit. Look at the current resource numbers. Leenock, he could go for a wonder at this rate. Liereyy is wondering what the hell he's doing in this game.
Oh, crazy. And yeah, as you can see, more raids happening in the back. Population plummeting for Liereyy, 120. He's still fighting on, but that also shows you like how he doesn't really have 100% of the feel of the game yet. That he feels that he has a fighting chance here after he lost all map controls. His opponent in Imperial Age completely uncontested for such a long time. This is like the Chinese dream. Liereyy, he's just trying to get his hands warm here, I believe.
Yeah, it's kind of like watching these players come in, such as H has been this way as well, Liereyy now. They're playing these civs as we realized them when we started Age of Empires 4 straight away, right? When Marine Lord and Vortex, these people were like, horse archers are broken, and then you had like these builds where, you ignored wheelbarrow. We come through to this stage, obviously in this situation, Liereyy does get wheelbarrow, but like I've seen it from H, where these players, they're very good, but they're essentially figuring out the game months behind their opponents, and it shows in the pivot towards builds that are no longer popular. And this is one of them, the horse archers. I just, it doesn't feel right when you're up against Nesta Bees and now Lancers as well. Yet Liereyy has kind of invested too much in it.
Yeah, and Liereyy tweeted yesterday that he was really unhappy with matchmaking right now because he wanted to train the map pool of the tournament exclusively, but felt like, okay, he couldn't really dodge because he didn't want to get punished in the quick match and didn't really get the great practice. In Age of Empires 2, he could always train with Hera, not really his practice partner in AoE 4 anymore. So right now, mainly relying on the ladder grind, not the best practice for tournament games.
No, I mean, there's another game you get practice with, but like, nah, he's going to have to find some new scrim partners. I mean, there's definitely plenty of players that have been matching up with each other when they're not on the same side of the brackets in these rounds, but this time around, You're seeing the difference in practice here. Leenock understands the numbers, doesn't need to Zerg with an unlimited number of Lancers to burn these structures down. That 40 torch damage denies the Abbey of Trinity, and he's in for more. He understands that Lierey's away from home, striking in with his contingent of cavalry from the south side into a condensed choke point where Leenock can hold him, and while he's going for that, Leenock is going for the dub. He's in with the bombards, with the fire lancers. All the landmarks can be seen on the same screen here. It's not like Leenock has to run far to find them.
Oh, and Sprinkles around could deal with those bombards, but Lierey's making a reasonable defense happen here. I think there's an overcommitment by Leenock. Obviously, he can easily replace those resources, but I think he overboomed. How many villages does Leenock have?
125, like, that's a hefty amount. For the moment, he's still with the bombards, though. That's the difference maker. But look at this attempt by Liereyy. Lierey's looking to do something similar, but actually, no. He's not going for the landmarks. He's going for the eco. He doesn't realize what we do, which is Leenock can shrug his shoulders at his losses because he's built such a surplus up. And he's there to react anyway. In with the fire lancers, and watch this splash damage. Skadoosh! Front line, tries to wrap around. Spear's now arriving to deal with the Knights. Enveloping, moving towards the Horse Archers, and Horse Archers not optimal here. More or less targeting the same unit. And it means that they're not getting the best of trades. And even at the end of this cleanup, it's still more value for Leenock because the hit to his economy is less than 10%.
Oh god, this is such an easy clear up for Leenock as well. Drops a bit in population, but as you can see, Q is just endless. 15 more elite fire lancers, 15 more elite spearmen as well. And Leenock can easily replenish this, and the moment he just shifts to Lierey's front again, he can easily clear up those landmarks if Liereyy isn't tapping out before, because he should drop below pop 120.
I mean, how does Liereyy replace this lost force now? The last of it is going to be pinned in the corner. He can even involve the villagers if he wanted to, just to give that emphatic victory in the back of his base, but you know the Horse Archers are making their last stand. And afterwards, their ancestors aren't going to be there to replace him quick enough. Just look at the eco count for Liereyy. And look at the military population right now. Leenock, as soon as someone dies, he replaces it. Liereyy doesn't have that same luxury.
Leenock's upgrades are crazy as well. Look at all that. That's just massive, and he gets so many advantages there in all the fights, so much more advantage when it comes to gathering all the resources. That's why he can put on, all the wild numbers on the map here. Liereyy, it feels like he might be running out of options, still tries to hold on, and Horse Archers are efficient, you don't need to invest into gold, but Leenock, he's not really struggling for gold.
Yeah, he's struggling for wood. The wood is running out. It's now in no man's land, and Leenock will not allow you access. He's going to send you to your ancestors in this situation. Moving in, he can't afford to expose himself, right? Because he still hasn't repaired the landmarks. And we saw how quickly the Fire Lancers brought him down last time. Moving in now, forcing him away. Barely any Horse Archers left into the choke point. But Liereyy, what is that choke point holding back from? They already have access to what they need, and he's in. Fire Lancers target onto the High Armory. Town Center next to it as well, and Bombards in range. And this game looks like it's come to a close. Liereyy no longer has the answers to bite back, and it means he's going to wave the white flag. Leenock takes the dub to open this up on Dry Arabia.
Poof. Strongholds. Liereyy had a nice opening there, but Leenock, he just defended so nicely with Spearmen, got to the extra town centers. Liereyy maybe a bit late there, maybe a bit overcommitment there on the Knights, and Leenock, he got to his ideal army composition. Absolutely crazy.
Nah, most definitely. It was a phenomenal showing from Leenock. Like, we saw Liereyy's early pressure. It looked really good. We had a feeling he actually could, get this series open with a win. The Roos, they definitely have these dominant timings that he was playing into somewhat optimally. But then we get into the late game, and I think that's where the experience comes through. I mentioned that Leenock, when he first started playing AoE4, he thrived on the late game. He went to it regularly. So he's already familiar with it. And you highlighted the other side of things. Liereyy right now, he's struggling to be able to practice the maps he wants. Obviously, he's been grinding AoE2. AoE4 is a more recent venture. He probably doesn't have the same level of experience in late game AoE4. And that really did show in this first game.
Yeah. Leenock, he's an absolute beast, right? He can play super aggressively, and he picked Chinese on a map that is basically unwallable. So that really shows you how confident he was with his defense, and he prolonged the game on his terms. So absolutely fine there for him. And now we go on to High View, and I think we could see a repeat here because Liereyy, French. That's a civilization that we normally see also raiding again with knights, can build knights in feudal age, those two civilizations. And then Abbasid, probably more on the defensive side.
Yeah, that's the thing. On the defensive, Leenock has proven his capability to find a way through to that later timing. Let's see if Liereyy this time around can deny him as we move into game 2 of Leenock already on match point.
Whew. It's pretty big matchup here in the round of 64 already, but mainly due to Liereyy being invited, so therefore getting the bottom 4 seeds, and therefore he always has to face someone out of the top 4 in his first round here. Quite unfortunate, but yeah, nice that he's part of it. And the big question mark, like if he would have made it if we only got the rating cutoff there. And he practiced, he's trying to make a showing, and honestly, especially like the first 20, 25 minutes, I was really impressed by him.
Yeah. I mean, for Liereyy, it's kind of like he's put on the hard mode version of Age of Empires 4, the seeding ranking, right? Like, we're boomers, right? Well, we're getting towards there at least, where we're like, oh, you know how games nowadays, they hold your hands, it's always so easy. Gamers don't get it anymore. They don't get the hardships of being stuck on the first level for 20 days. Liereyy here, he's like, no, I'm not going to take the easy route. Screw seeding. I'm going to come through with the hardest players to beat in the start. And, I mean, that's how it played out in the first round, right? It was no easier that time around for him. I think he matched up against, was it Viper?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, opening match last week.
And now Leenock.
Yeah, this is obviously going to be unfortunate for him when it comes to results, but it also is the best practice that he can get, right? He will see the build-ups, he can see and measure himself with the very best in the world, he can still make a run in the redemption bracket, and I think this is the scenario where he can learn the most. Obviously, he didn't have big ambitions in this tournament, maybe more of a long-term plan, hoping that there are other tournaments coming around where he can perform a bit better then.
Yeah, the interesting part is like the French being seen as off meta, because I have seen a lot of people play this Civ in previous tournaments and also play on the ladders. For those wondering how we decide off meta, it is decided by the players, right? They all given votes and the majority rules, and a lot of them chose things like Delhi, which are obviously dominant. I think Mongols was also banned from this map as well, which kind of left way for the French. And I think the reason that happened, Nili, is because the French is fairly one-dimensional, right? Like, nothing big changed with this Civ with the patch. And for a long time, it has been figured out. Like, this was one of the first Civs to kind of get optimized, similar to the English. And it means that a lot of people seem to feel confident matching up against it.
Yeah, I think French are still considered to be strong. Maybe even number 4 here. You could. It basically comes down to what do you think is the 4th best Civ? Is it Abbasid or is it French? So certainly not bad on high view, but if we had to make the cut, it still feels like Mongols and Delhi so dominant. Rus obviously a big favorite here due to all the wolves, and that's why we are going for this matchup. And the big question, obviously, Leenock, how much is he on gold? Is he going for wheelbarrow in addition to fresh foodstuffs or not?
Yeah, that's the standard opener we're looking for. Curious to say how quickly Liereyy will prioritize this. I've noticed that with him and H, at least on the first round, they were a little bit delayed with their French openings on going to wheelbarrow. Seemed like kind of one of those suboptimal plays where they hadn't caught on yet. I'm expecting that to be fixed for this round. He'll be quickly into it because remember, the French can actually afford it a lot quicker than other civs due to the fact that all the eco research costs 30% less.
But floating 200 gold might mean he wants to go for professional scouts. 5 on gold. That's more than we typically see. I'm a bit surprised there. Already has the mill. So yeah, I'm expecting professional scouts out of Liereyy here.
Yeah, he hasn't even gone for the wheelbarrow yet. He will want to be a little bit careful with the deer and sheep. I have heard about a weird kind of bug right now to do with collecting from deer and then switching to sheep, where your villagers will go idle and they won't react. So that's something to keep an eye on as we move forward, as there have been kind of reports coming through from players that that's a new bug to sneak in with the latest patch. And I think that might actually gravitate people away from pro scouts just to be safe.
Well, let's see about that. And Liereyy, no click yet. What is it going to be? Liereyy, give us something. 192 gold.
He's hot now. He's just saving up for a wedding ring right now. I mean,
Liereyy, what do you want? Where do you want to go?
He's saving. Actually, no, he's saving up for his college intuition. There we go. It's finally there. It is going to be the pro scouts play.
Yeah, didn't start college, right? He just finished school this summer.
That's why he's saving up, you know?
Or last summer. Yeah,
He's like coming in for the Golden League money. $125,000 will go a long way to my intuition. Thank you very much.
We'll take it for sure. Sees the spearman or sees the barrack, sees the transition onto stone, so knows exactly what Leenock is up to. Double scout opening helped quite a bit. And then the question is, how does he want to approach this? Only knights? Is he following it up with the archer range right now? Typically, this is the moment where people queue up another scout. Here he goes for another knight.
I think Lierey's waiting for information. You see he was cycling the scouts around, so he's trying to get eyeballs on what Leenock is up to. This is really a heads-up play. Like, even at the highest level, there's so many players that still don't do this enough. They kind of play a very blind opening. But Liereyy is being sensible. This really shows a lot of promise. And this is the cool thing I'm looking forward to. Like, week on week, if we come and check in on Liereyy from this week, and then 4 weeks from now, like, how much is he going to improve at this stage if he understands the importance of vision? Because I've seriously, like, no exaggeration, I've watched top 40 players play blind with 0 scouting too often in the last month, and it does lead to losses more often than victory.
Yeah, absolutely agree. The efficiency, like, it's information is key. You make the better choices, you are more informed, have the better units, and Liereyy, he certainly has the macro, now knows exactly what's up, and will make the transition into the archer range. After knowing, okay, you go for a spearman, but that means Liereyy has to play a long, aggressive feudal age.
And he will have to be careful about Leenock's potential transition into an archer range, because something that you have on your side when you're playing as the Abbasids versus the French is the Camel on Ease. Camel on Ease is phenomenal against heavy cavalry because it reduces a true 20% of the damage, and it negates a big strong point for the French, which is these early heavy cavalry, which spot out the TC expansion. He's wrapping around for the north as well. He's going to strike down a few here. Taps him in with a sword. One's going to fall. Will peel away before the spears do maximum damage, and he will return to the TC. But right now, Leenock needs to get a few more spears in position, because 2 might struggle to actually protect this.
Oh, and there is a 4th one on the field. Could get into the wood line. This is still mainly a distraction. 1 blue dot now moving in. That TC goes up. Let's take a look at the wood line. Ah, no. Lierey's not committing.
No, he's just trying to keep his opponent pinned in, because remember, he did go for the pro scouts, right? So the important detail for him is that Leenock isn't out of his base, because spears are very effective now at denying pro scouts, due to the fact that when you pick up carcasses, you move slower than spears.
Yeah. Minus 35% doesn't feel like a lot, but yeah, just such a big difference. Chivalry now research could go for the berry raid, but actually there are no villages on the berries. So Leenock still did a good job of finding all those sheep early on.
Yeah, and he had to fall back upon, right? Now he has the secondary berry line. I like what he done here. Not enough players do this when they're up against the French. They'll try to go for their sheep for a long time, and then they'll delay the shift over onto the berries until they've got enough to instantly research wheelbarrow. Realistically, when you're up against the high-tempo Civ, if it's not the Mongols, there's immense value in going straight into the berries. The reason you don't do it against the Mongols all the time is because if your mill is too far out to be protected, they burn it down, they get paid for the service, right? French don't get that same luxury. French.
Thank you for your service.
Bringing out the archers. Spearman not able to really deter Liereyy from yoinking away the deer. But with this many spear, he doesn't have the critical mass of archers to address this yet, so he will be chased back further.
Oh, and Spearman actually relatively efficient here. 1 scout has to die though, and now even horsemen joining the party. That means those archers alone won't do the job anymore. And it feels like Leenock making really good hold here. Remember, he already has the 2nd town center.
Yeah, and he's pushing fully back. You can see he really wants to engage. Now the suboptimal trades for Liereyy. He doesn't get a charge out. He gets hit hard by the spears, and now a horseman will move in to finish off that knight. Nice, that skip box.
Still shooting.
Now, there is something notable about this generation, actually, Nili. That's really beneficial to pro scouts for Liereyy. You're seeing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Although
at the top, and he already got 4 carcasses from the front, I believe. So he will have lots and lots of food.
That's what I love,
but
right?
Waltz himself off? What?
What? We're of the same mind here. That's an interesting play for a French Civ to make. I'd expect this if Leenock was in the blue. Not this way around, though. Wait. No. I've been seeing this in my Bronze Barbarian series. This is not Bronze, though. Liereyy, please. Okay, those deer are slightly suboptimal, folks. That does mean he's going to have extra walk time, which, will help deny deep vein thrombosis from his villagers, because they'll get ample exercise. But it does mean he's getting less food per minute when he starts gathering off of those.
Oh, will that wall finish? Horsemen are coming over. Still needs 2 more hits here, I believe.
Oh, they go
Horsemen,
that
no,
way.
they're finding another angle.
Oh, this wall though, Liereyy.
Archer with the
Liereyy!
defense.
He's using the village that's building the other walls. He's not quick walling it up. They're in. And Horsemen strike in onto the archers. It'll be reasonable trade. The spearmen follow up as well to deny the population boom for Liereyy. Is going to be frustrating. He doesn't have a clear answer just yet.
Leenock, though.
I think he's just throwing it away because it's padding him, right? Like, if he keeps his opponent in the base, pins him a little bit, he can maybe scale to castle. I think that's what Leenock's goal is now. The Knights are going to try to deny some of that, but there's already forces building back in base.
You can pin him so much better if you still have 4 more horsemen. I don't think you needed to dive that deeply there.
Yeah, he's kind of a funky one. And he peels back the spearmen, right? You'd be like, spearmen are kind of more throwaway here, but I kind of understand the bait to worry more about the importance of your spears because you are up against French cavalry. So you're like, horsemen, le shrug. But then spears, le stab, right? You need them against the French cav.
Both players about to click up or like age up at a very similar timing. Liereyy now building what we would expect is the guild hall. Leenock still a minute away from clicking, is a bit short there on the gold department. Big question now, the wall at the top. Did we build a gate there or not? That could still make some sense then there.
It makes a lot of sense, right? Because there's a second load of deer further back. And it's more optimal to play on the outskirts so you don't get raided in the forest. Yeah, because I think he gathers some there. I don't think there's 7 deer there anymore. Huh.
Yeah, look fewer. Okay.
Wait,
well,
no, he doesn't
3
even know
scouts
about
the whole
them.
time.
He doesn't know about the deer.
But it has to be his patch, right? No.
Oh, okay, he sees one. He sees. But he doesn't have the
Might
logo,
be
right?
shown on the minimap.
Yeah, he doesn't have the icon, so he has to notice this one deer sitting behind a tree, camo deered up. I don't think Leary's going to find them.
You spawn with 2 patches, and Liereyy should know that.
But he doesn't know where the patch is.
But he scouted everything else on the map.
But you've played Age of Empires 4 for several months. Do you trust the generation to not randomly stick the deer in a corner behind a tree line?
Yes.
That didn't sound like 100%
For the sake of my
sure
argument.
to me. That sounded like an 80% maybe. And there we go. So tech ups are coming through. It is going to be a Castle Age slog. And this is where the balance shifts, right? Leenock is going to get access to the Creeping Siege, which did get nerfed, but is still powerful for the Abbasids. And then also, more importantly, Camel Archers start to get potent value at this stage in the game. Like, their damage goes up, their health pool goes up. There's still a solid solution to Knights due to the Camel Unease. So it does kind of discount Leary's hand a bit, especially considering he went for the Guild Hall as opposed to the College, which would have given him more value, the Royal Institute rather, which would give him more value in getting to Royal Bloodlines right now.
I think full camels actually makes more sense than mixing in some camel archer spearmen, right? You have more mobility. They still perform reasonably well against archers, obviously great against knights. I think that could be a reasonable option.
Yeah, I've seen, I quite like the idea of kind of camel archers with horsemen, and horsemen just become a meat shield, which is quite nice because it's dynamic. But it depends on whether you want a siege afterwards. Because remember, if you do go for all camels or all cavalry, you have no way of building your siege out in the field.
Yeah, also, but siege is slower, and do we really have the push potential? And do we need the siege on the field, right? We know we have 2 town centers. Unlikely that Liereyy, with this castle timing, is playing 2 town centers himself. And therefore, we feel like holding is a winning condition for us again.
And it gives him the dynamic variable, right? If he has all cavalry, he can run through these forests and raid. Because one of the big weaknesses of High View is your initial resources are visible, but the rest are in these tree lines, right? There's a lot of hidden information there. Leenock's able to exploit that, while Liereyy, because he went to archers, he's got a static formation. This is the difference. Leenock keeps flanking to the north and south. Liereyy has to go through the center. And this is why he keeps arriving in his base like this without Liereyy knowing it's coming.
Oh, actually pulls those witches out of the town center quite quickly there. I think could have continued with some more damage.
Yeah, but he's missing economy right now. That's his concern. Like, look at the numbers for Liereyy. He needs wood. He has free wood to his name right now. So he needs to start gathering soon.
Also, plus 20 villagers for Leenock. So this feels like such a repeat. Where we had some aggression early on by Liereyy, but Leenock, he's just happy with defending.
Yeah, it feels like this lead shouldn't be this big either, right? Like, because the French start off with a better production rate, and then it improves when you got the castle. Like, you expect a lead for Leenock, but you also expect the French to punish that lead because of the Knights. And the Mangonels now. Not many archers to target here, but enough to make it worthwhile. Second shot coming out. Heavy damage done here. Liereyy being pinned up against the trees. Needs to be careful. Now he can address the Ram. And the Ram really just not going to find much value here. A Blacksmith is your target for this investment. I can't even get that.
Double Mangonel defense will be really easy. Second Mangonel only finishes now. And
is that a raid?
Just feels like Leenock.
A little bit creepy there. There's more cavalry to the north, though. Liereyy, I don't know if that's scouts or knights right now, but he has the potential to spot that expansion by Leenock in the back right corner. And it's just scouts. Okay, yeah, so he's just here for the greed. He did go for the Ford Stable, which is a little bit surprising. I think a lot of players, if they were to proxy base here, it would have been the Siege Workshop to get the counter to the Mangonels, but now he doesn't have an answer.
Also, this shows the opponent, like, I'm going full all in Castle Age here.
Yeah.
And,
Splinters it just in time. The Knights riding in. The Spears, they block him off. And that Stable works against him. And this Ford base is going to fall before it even reaches full maturity at this rate. Because he's not got enough troops to deter it. The Mangonels are just dominating everything in this area. Spears.
Spearman numbers not crazy.
Oh, enough though. Maybe he gets one of the Mangonels, but what's the price? The price is damn high. So many Knights dead for this. And now the Mangonel clean up the archers. Folks, if you do the maths on that, that's what, 7 Knights, 240 resources apiece. The Mangonel costs 600 resource. It's a good trade for Leenock.
Oh, Imam yoinking the relic there.
That's what it was all about. This is religious war right now. It's another one of those crusades. All over these religious relics. And I don't think that Lierey's gathering them yet, actually. He hasn't built a monastery, despite the fact that he had easy access to at least 3 relics.
Well, he tried to finish the game at this point, right? But his army got cleared up, and now he's at 13 military. Still food is not the greatest. Some idle army. He is not 100% there where he wants to be. And also, this is like, for an experienced player, they see, wow, I had one timing in early Castle Age. I needed to make something happen. This got clapped down. I'm in a really bad spot. But you can really see, like, Liereyy, he doesn't really know the situations in this game yet.
Yeah, it's kind of wacky for him as well, because a lot of players would have started to got a feel for this with enough experience that Leenock is food capped soon. We can see it, right? Because, like, we've got God Vision, all right? We're treated, we're spawned nearly. But Liereyy has no info on this. This is why this fight was so important. Had Leenock lost this fight, his replacement rates suck. He can't get a new army up quick enough, and Liereyy has a way of gap closing and pushing in. But now, how the turns have tabled, right? Keep's going to go up, distracts him for longer, and while that's happening, Leenock can now pad his economy elsewhere as he shifts over to a new pocket.
Oy, 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 oy. And this is just so much gold control as well. And more relics for the long game. Those scouts are idle. And it just feels like, again, the beautiful setup for the long game. And Liereyy, again, with an army that is okay for now, but doesn't really scale up against mass spearmen.
No, he hasn't transitioned off of archers at all. And it's problematic because he didn't have any clear choice. If you go Arbaletiers, your opponent's already building spears, right? And also Mangonels build that as well. If you go more into cavalry, he's already producing spears. Like, Liereyy, because he invested too hard into this archery range investment and now the Knights as well, he's kind of stuck in a rut. You can see he's just trying to siphon off whatever he can, take these deer, sustain his economy for longer, but there's no denying that we reach a really critical point in the game where he's going to be weak, and that's when he has to transition to farmlands. With limited wood, with the fact he hasn't already set it up, that's going to drain his resources, and it means this military count that he's fielding right now is going to diminish further, and it's already behind that of Leenock's.
Knights now trying to find something, but incineration by Leenock as well. Absolutely on point. But, oh, double-pronged attack will find some villager kills here.
Yeah, unless they get their shivs out. Have they accidentally hit sheep recently? Probably not. They're just going to run away. He still has the eco laid, right? That's concern. Unless you somehow find 20 villages, which is a big ask right now. But Liereyy, he's not giving up anytime soon. However, he is about to find himself sandwiched if he's not careful. The walls! The walls! Ooh. Oh! He needed an extra one in there.
Got some extra hits out of there, though. But Spearmen, they are fine chasing this one down. And now with all the upgrades, they're actually fine taking the trades against the archers.
It's a top. It's a top. There's nowhere to go. Oh, Liereyy, he's going to lose the troops. He thought he had a way out. He didn't have a scout on the front, so he didn't know that this had been walled in, and that will cause it. GG gets called. Leenock makes it a clean 2-0.
And yeah, we saw the game. It was, what was it? Seed 4 against seed 61. And that really reflected in those games. Liereyy in such a good position at the very early on because he had the more aggressive civilizations. But Leenock looked in full control, solid defense at all times. And he just gave himself so many win conditions when it came to upgrades, when it came down to economy, when it came down to relic, wood, gold control in game 1. This is just very methodical way, and Leenock, super controlled gameplay.
Yeah, it's just classic Leenock, right? Like, he understands if the game drags out later, he's going to build up a slight lead somewhere. He keeps just enough pressure to create this illusion that he's going to be all-inning. Like, you saw it when he threw away the horseman. You questioned, oh, is it worth diving here? Like, he's essentially just kind of baiting Liereyy at different stages. He shows up in his base, so he's like, Leenock's hanging around in feudal. I'll hang around in feudal. Then when he reinvests in an army, because he throws away part of his military force with those dives, Liereyy then feels confident that he can reinvest and siege back. So Leenock is just kind of writing the script, and Liereyy is reading from it, not knowing that his opponent's the one that writ the story, right? Like, he's just, it almost seems like he's from the future, like he's an oracle that can see how this is dragging out. And although it's kind of gambly against some players who are really good at tempo aggression, for Leenock, he just wants late game. And he understands if he does this, it forces late game where his builds proved once already in this series they were superior and now do it for the second time.